Welcome to BEFM Drama. I'm your host, Ryan Estrada. This season we're premiering brand new radio plays inspired by the 22 annual winter books that Charles Dickens wrote to try and follow the success of A Christmas Carol, but the world quickly forgot. This week we're taking inspiration from the 1855 installment, The Holly Tree Inn. This was during the era where Dickens was writing framing stories. He would write the first and last chapter of a book and ask other writers to create chapters to fill in the blanks. Then he would take credit for the whole thing. In this story, Dickens wrote about a man snowed in as the only customer at a strange hotel. He tried to keep his mind occupied, but he started getting stir-crazy because of his relationship problems. So he gets nosy and digs around the hotel to learn the stories of all the previous lodgers at the inn. This episode is based on the chapters The Guest by Charles Dickens, The Landlord by William Hewitt, and The Barmaid by Adelaide Proctor. I'm going to be honest again. Some of these outsourced original chapters were not very good. One of them was just about a colonizer who comes back from Australia and complains about how stressful it is to subjugate people. But we have remixed all of those chapters and stories into something new. Our last two episodes took place in an airport. Now we'll pick up from there with a brand new story as our character Fern continues the tale of his ill-fated vacation. Please enjoy BeFM Drama's production of Snowed In at the Holly Tree Hotel.
I was a day into my vacation. I'd already saved a patient, solved a mystery, and stopped a killer. But it was just beginning, because the next mystery was my own. And if it's okay, I'd like to tell you about that one too. No objections? Whew! Wow, this is great. Hey Goblin, I really appreciate that you've listened to my whole story, You didn't interrupt me once. Not once.
Huh? What?
I was just saying that I really appreciate how you haven't interrupted me and you've been listening to my whole story,
Oh yeah, your story. Yeah, great story.
Were you asleep?
Huh? No, I was just concentrating really hard on your story. It was just so good that I had to close my eyes to paint a mental picture.
Wow, you really think so? Well, tell me, what was your favorite part?
You went on vacation?
Yeah, I did go on vacation. That's true. That did happen at the beginning of my story.
Yeah, great beginning. Just fantastic. Really good, middle, and end too.
No, that's not the end.
Oh, really? You're still going?
Well, yeah, I have to tell you the new story about what happened after my plane landed.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. This is all great stuff. I'm super into it.
So, as I mentioned, my wife and I had planned a far-off remote getaway. But once the tickets were booked, thanks to this work schedule, I was unable to get away. So she had to leave on the original non-refundable tickets, and I had to wait and book my own travel, to meet her there. It was only when I started searching for new tickets as I realized how out and far away this whole place was. If I were to go any further north, I'd ended up in the North Pole with Santa Claus. So I flew out to this tiny town of Gatliff and ended up looking for the Holly Tree Hotel.
Sounds nice.
I'm sure the town would have been nice, but I couldn't see any of it. I arrived to find the entire city buried deep in the snow, just rooftops peeping out of the snowbanks. The wind was howling and it looked like an even worse snowstorm was coming. The other travelers picked up and disappeared one by one. Hey, does anybody know where I can get a taxi around here?
Oh, there are no taxis around here. Not much of anything at all in the off-season. Town's pretty much closed.
Is anyone going to the Holly Tree Hotel?
The Holly Tree Hotel? I haven't heard of anyone staying there in years. Not since the murder.
There was a...
Anyway, gotta go. Great meeting you. Enjoy your stay.
Oh no, I didn't even get to know where the place was. I just know that's where my wife is.
It's straight down that road into the forest just past the cemetery.
Have you stayed there?
Oh, I would never do that. Have fun.
Once they were all gone, I realized how right they were. It was a ghost town. Not a bus, taxi, or even human being in sight. I'd wanted to get away from it all, but I didn't know that this town was so remote. I tried to call my wife, but even in the center of town, there was no reception on my phone. So I had no choice but to start walking. The snow got deeper and deeper and deeper as I went. The storm got worse and worse.
How far away was this place?
Well, that's what I wanted to know. They told me how to get there, but they didn't tell me how far it was. So for hours, I'm walking down this road, through the snow, into the forest, past the graveyard.
Why didn't you just turn back?
Every time I felt like giving up or turning back, I realized that it could be further backwards than it was forwards. And if I went back, there was still no place to go. And there was no way to tell my wife even where I was.
So what did you do?
I just kept going. I had to brave it and hope that I didn't get frostbite in the process. Eventually, when the sun was down and the streets were dark, and I was about to collapse, I saw it. The Holly Tree Hotel. There were no lights on, but I could just make out the sign. The drive wasn't shoveled, so I had to trudge through the snow just to get to the front door. Then I knocked, ready to check in, meet my wife, take a long shower, and sleep for a long, long time. Then I waited, and I knocked again. No answer. I peeked through the window, and I see this old man slowly walking down the stairs, and I'm shivering in the cold, waiting for him to finally open the door. About 5 minutes later, my feet are turning blue, and the door finally, slowly creaks open.
We're closed.
I was shocked, so I knock again.
Yeah, what?
I have a reservation. I'm here to check in.
So you are.
Yeah. So can I do that?
What's your name?
My wife's already checked in. I just need to know where her room is. The reservation should be under Mr. and Mrs. Weber.
Let me check my records. Huh, well, that's curious.
What's wrong?
I don't seem to see a Mr. or Mrs. Weber in the books.
Well, she should have checked in yesterday. She's about this tall, blonde hair.
Let me check my records again. Well, I don't see any record of that.
Maybe under a different name? Is there a Louise?
Let's see, the last person to check in was a, Uriah, 18 months ago.
And you needed to check the books for that? Hang on, let me call my wife.
Of course.
I'm not getting any signal, so...
No, you wouldn't. Not in Gatlif.
Can I use your phone?
Of course. The phone lines are down.
Any Wi-Fi?
I'm afraid not.
I'm afraid of a lot of things right now, specifically the whole murder house vibe you get when you're coming in here. But I need to know where my wife is. Can I come in?
No.
He slammed the door shut and I found myself trapped back out in the darkness. And it's now a raging snowstorm. The wind was so fierce and the trees were bending and breaking. Avalanches of snow poured off their branches, and then the wind picked it up and carried it into little flurries that burned as they hit me in the face. The last place I'd seen in my hours of walking was the airport, and by now it was probably closed as well. I had no place to go, and I was in a lot of danger, but I was more worried about my missing wife. Could she have been in a similar situation and gotten lost in the snow, or could something have happened to her in this creepy old hotel? And what was that they said about the murder? I wanted to search for clues, but it was pitch black except for this light coming from a top floor window. And I swore I saw a woman's face in there staring down back at me. So as much as I wanted to burst back in and demand answers, I decided it was best to go and find somebody else to help me. Someone at the airport had mentioned that there was another hotel, and if I could find that, maybe I could get some answers and get the police to come back here and investigate. And I pushed my way through the snow, which was now so blinding that I couldn't even see anywhere I was going, when suddenly I heard a crack. I must have stepped into some ice, and my foot broke through. I fell down inside and twisted my ankle, collapsing into this freezing cold water. The snow around me fell and poured into the hole, burying me underneath. I was screaming, but my mouth was filled with snow and water, and my yells were getting muffled by the howling wind. I thought at that moment that was my end. I mean, Goblin, I was gonna die. I started to pass out. The last thing I remembered was this pair of hands grabbing me. Well, after a while, I woke up and I'm on the floor, in this pair of ill-fitting pajamas in a completely empty room next to a fire. This old man is standing looking at me through a doorway.
You're awake.
Ugh. What happened?
You walked out the door and straight into my koi pond.
Who saved me?
I did. You're lucky I was there. What are you doing here?
I just wanted a vacation.
Well, I guess you're here for the night. You won't make it anywhere in that twisted angle. That'll be $56.
My card is in my pants, which I don't seem to have, and that's a little bit concerning.
I've already taken the liberty of charging your card. You will sleep here.
Where's the furniture?
I told you we were closed. You don't get to make demands about your room. Breakfast will be at 6 a.m. sharp. You will not leave this room until then.
Hey, do you think I could get my pants? Guess not. He slammed the door and I could hear him hobbling down the hall. Something didn't add up. I could hear how he was walking so slowly, and I could see how old and weak he was. How could he have made it out there to save me so quickly and had the strength to carry me inside and up those stairs? Not to mention, take all my clothes off and put me in these ugly pajamas. Who else was here with us? Who had I seen up in that window? Where was my wife? And, of course, where are my pants? Once it sounded like the old man was asleep, I crept out and started looking for some clues. With my twisted ankle, I could barely walk down the stairs, but I had to be as silent as possible not to wake up the old man. I limped across the living room, and I slowly opened the front door to see if there was any way out. And it was pitch black, and the snowstorm was worse than ever. There was no way I would have survived it even if I had 2 working ankles. Or my clothes. So I looked around the yard for some clues to what might have happened when I fell through the ice. The snowstorm already covered up all of our tracks, so even if it was light enough to see, I wouldn't have gotten any closer to what had happened. I did, however, see one shoe print on the porch, and it looked like a lady's shoe. Had my wife been there? Or was it someone else staying at this hotel that he wasn't even telling me about? I went to the front desk and I tried the phone, and just like he said, the lines were down. So I opened up the check-in book, and I found the last customer. It's the one he had mentioned. He told the truth. The last customer was listed as Uriah Tattenhall from Australia, 18 months earlier. After that, the book was empty. I searched around the desk for some more clues. The only other thing there was a local paper, which I didn't really think was odd until I noticed the date. That too was from 18 months earlier. I open it up and I see the same name again, Uriah Tattenhall. It was an article about his death. Apparently he'd fallen down the stairs here at the Holly Tree Hotel, the very same stairs I just hobbled down. The hotel claimed it was an accident, but a woman named Miss Osler had been arrested on the suspicion of murder. She made bail, then she disappeared. So I look around the room again. Everything's dead quiet. When I reached the kitchen, I found an old, overflowing recycling bin. And I could tell by the dates on the newspaper that it hadn't been emptied for over a year. And I knew if evidence like that was left right out on the front desk, there could possibly be more damning information in here, where he thought nobody would even think to look. So I start digging through the newspapers, the bills and such, and I find a pile of torn up pieces of paper. They looked like they had been shredded and crumpled so angrily that somebody must have done it in a horrible rage. I fished out as many as I could find, and I sit on the kitchen floor, try to put them back together like a puzzle. The first one looked like a front page out of a journal, and that read,
I loved her. I loved her from the moment I saw her. We were both just 10. Her family was the richest in town, and mine was so poor. She was always out playing in the most beautiful new dresses. I was in tattered old hand-me-downs from 6 brothers before me. I was too embarrassed to say hello. We were both 20. I'd gotten a job, hoping to buy some nice clothes and make myself presentable. I tended the horses. Her family owned the hotel. I still couldn't say hello. I was just a poor stable hand, but I knew that one day I would marry her. I just had to work hard enough to be worthy of her. When we were both 30, I had been promoted to a manager at the hotel. I had enough money to buy fine clothes, but still I was working for her family. I was an employee. I dared not say hello. When we were both 40, I'd gotten a new job as the head chef in the finest restaurant in town. She would visit regularly, but by now she was running her family hotel. She had expanded. She now owned hotels across the continent. She was a boss. I was not her employee, but still, just an employee. I needed something of my own before I could say hello. We were both 50. I'd started my own catering business. I was now a respected businessman in the community. I catered an event at her family's hotel. Thought I might finally say hello, until I found out that the event was her wedding. I loved her every day of my life, but I never did say hello.
There was another page from the same journal, even more angrily torn apart. That said,
If only I'd said hello. My life would be different. Maybe I wouldn't own my own hotel by now, but I might not be in the terrible situation I'm in. I never would have met Mrs. Osler.
I then pieced together a third piece of paper. This one had less writing on it, but it had been torn much, much more. Not in anger, but as if you were trying to hide something. And it was written in a different handwriting. It only said, "I will kill you." I knew I had to get out of there. I had to find a way to communicate with the outside world. I creeped to the other side of the hotel to see if I could find a way inside of the office. The door was locked, but I found a key inside of a drawer. And inside, I saw a computer. I turned it on, opened up the internet browser, and it worked. He was right about the phone lines and the Wi-Fi, but he neglected to tell me that he had satellite internet on his computer. So I started to log into my social media accounts so I could call for help.
I told you to stay in your room.
I turned and I saw the old man standing in the doorway, pointing a shotgun at my head.
Just what do you think you're doing?
Whoa, hold on there, buddy, calm down. The phone lines are down, so I was just trying to get online.
Who are you trying to get a hold of?
Put the gun down, old man. I'm not trying to be the next victim at your creepy old hotel.
Who are you? Who sent you?
I'm just a guy on vacation.
Don't you lie to me. What do you know?
I know about Mrs. Osler and the dead Australian guy.
And just what are you planning to do with that information?
Well, listen, buddy. I've already typed the whole post of where I am and what I know. And if you're planning to shoot me, you better do it fast before I can push this enter button, because you don't look like the type of old man who's internet savvy enough to delete this post before everybody reads it and starts sending help.
So we got ourselves a showdown.
Looks like we do.
Son, you brought a blog to a gunfight.
I'm just a man looking for his wife. I'm not after you, and I'm not after Mrs. Osler.
How did you know Mrs. Osler was here?
Look, man, I don't want any trouble. I don't want to...
Please save me.
Well, that was a shocker. The man I thought was about to kill me is now begging for help.
23 Dickens.
Huh? What happened? We get a call?
Sure did, buddy.
Go for 23 Dickens.
Out of the aquarium. Guy got bit by a penguin.
We're on our way.
God, man. It's too bad they interrupted. I was just about to get to the good part.
Interrupted what?
The story!
Oh, right. You were telling me a story. You went on vacation, and it was snowy.
It sure was, buddy. Sure was. I'll tell you all about it next time.
Yeah, I can't wait.
We'll end today with that cliffhanger, but we'll find out what happened on the next episode. Thank you for listening to BEFM Drama. This was Snowed In at the Holly Tree Hotel, based on The Guest by Charles Dickens, The Landlord by William Hewitt, and The Barmaid by Adelaide Proctor from the book The Holly Tree Inn. This radio play was written by me, Ryan Estrada. It starred Kelly Brassbridge as Fern, Sam Hazelton as Goblin, Michael Payne Wheeler as Mr. Reed, Kim Hyun Suk as Acot, and me as Isaac Osler. Hidden Agenda, Hard Boiled, and Long Note 1 are by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech and released under a Creative Commons Attribution License. The House Left Behind is by Unheard Music Concepts. Tune in next time for the thrilling conclusion in Escape from the Holly Tree Hotel. You'll find out what happened to Fern, what happened to Fern's wife, what happened to Fern's pants, who does that old man need rescuing from, and what's the deal with that penguin at the zoo? Tune in to find all the answers. Thank you for listening to BEFM Drama.